So which card did you overrate from Forged in the Barrens? I know there's at least one. I overrated a handful. The community at large overrated a bunch of cards, which we're going to talk about in this video. So before we get into things, I do want to thank our sponsor for this video. It's GMG Performance. Yeah, so I got to get real big here to show off these sleek frames from GMG Performance. If you don't know, they make non-prescription blue light blocking glasses. So if you're someone who's looking at a screen all day or 4 screens all day like me, then blue light blocking glasses could really help things like any headaches you might run into from eye strain, or helping you fall asleep at night, which I know is a big problem for me. So they can have a big impact on the quality of your life and also look really good. I feel like I just look sharp in this style of frames. I might have to mix things up. So if you want to check out these styles or other ones, I have this pair here as well from GMG that look really nice too. Nice clear frame, a little bit more reminiscent of my normal ones. You can head to the link in the description below. You'll get a 40% off offer right now. If you use that link, it's for limited time, so check it out soon, and I think you'll find some glasses you really like. All that said, let's go ahead and swap back to these. I think I like these the best. These look really, really good. And let's swap back to our most overrated cards. All right, so now that we've got some blue light glasses instead of rose-colored glasses, let's talk about the most overrated cards, starting with the most overrated of them all. It's Scavs Cutter Butter, the legendary mercenary for Rogue. It was rated at 4.8 stars by the community. Absolutely bonkers rating across multiple community sites. And in reality, only being played in 5.9% of Rogue decks right now. So not only a low overall played rate, but even a low played rate amongst rogues. Rogues aren't playing this card. I also gave Scavs Cutter Butter 4 stars. So why exactly did we all overrate Scavs? Well, I think there's a few things at play here. Number one is upfront cost. So Scavs himself is 4 mana, and yeah, you can discount 6, so it kind of makes him look free or -2 mana, but you have to pay the 4 mana up front. You also have to combo Scavs. He doesn't just work on his own. He's not a battle cry. So you got to play something else before Scavs as well, often committing even more than 4 mana. Of course, there are some 0 mana spells and such out there, but usually you're committing 4 or 5 mana to get things rolling. And that's a lot to get a turn going before you even have the payoff. And what that means is it's pushed a little bit further into the game. Maybe you're looking at something like a 4 or 5 mana play. Cards like this need to happen earlier and earlier to be stronger. So the longer you delay it, the longer you have to wait to find that right moment, the slower it gets and the harder it is to swing sufficiently. The other problem right now for Rogue is really that a lot of their cards are cheaper than 3 mana already. So you're not fully realizing the discount on Scavs in many cases unless your turn just lines up perfectly. So if you have Scavs and a 1 mana card you want to play afterwards, a Wand Thief or something, it's kind of awkward because you're only discounting that Wand Thief by 1 mana. You're not netting the full 3. And of course, every less reduction you get from Scavs makes him less tempo efficient. Now, that said, like with many cards in this video, I'm not saying these are going to be bad forever. There are clearly going to be instances and scenarios where these cards get stronger. I think there is a world where Scavs gets a little bit better if the meta for Rogue moves more towards mid-cost cards instead of a bunch of low-cost cards. As you get things that cost 3 mana more reliably, suddenly you're going to have more reasons to play Scavs. So I think there's a chance he pops into decks. I do not think he's ever going to be a 4.8 star card, though. I think 4 stars is probably Scavs' ceiling, to be honest, and I don't even know if he'll get there. I think he's more that kind of 3 to 3.5 star card that fits into some list but isn't super meta relevant. It's kind of more fringe. Turns out Scavs, not too bad, not even too good. So here's another one. This one I'm a little salty about. Serena Bloodfeather, coming in at 4.1 stars among the community. I think, if I'm not mistaken, my good friend Trump might have even given her a higher rating than that. I think he thought Serena was going to be nuts. I only gave this one 2 stars. One of the few that I get right here. I actually get to boast a little bit. Believe me. I'm not going to ride the boast too high because it's rare. It's not going to happen a lot, but a little bit on this when I get to boast. Serena, 2 stars for me. I thought she was going to be way too awkward. I didn't think she presented enough swing. It's just kind of like half swing where you're not really killing the thing. Usually you're just kind of only gaining a little bit of its stats. Priest just has more decisive and bigger swing cards that are available. Xyrella is a perfect example in the same expansion. Xyrella absolutely dominates your opponent's board. Like, sure, you have to commit a little more mana to do it, but it's big, it's meaningful, it makes a huge change to the game. Serena is just this kind of trickle swing. She doesn't really do that much. Doesn't change the game state all that much. So I'm not super shocked here. This is what I expected for Serena. She's only at 3.6% of Priest decks. That's basically none of them. Very, very few find any room for Serena because there's just better cards doing bigger and better things. I'm actually a little surprised that this one was so highly rated. I'm curious here why you guys like Serena so much. And do you think if you liked her, if you gave her 4+ stars, do you think she still has a chance to get better? Like, do you think there's some world or some deck or some meta where she really starts to shine? Because I don't like cards to fail. Even if I'm right about them, I still want cards to succeed, particularly legendaries like this. Somebody opened this in a pack, so I want it to be good. And I'm curious what route or angle you think Serena has to be a playable card in the future. I want to hear that. So moving on, this one makes me so sad. Overlord Sarfang, rated 4.5 stars by the community, 4 stars by yours truly, only showing up in 10% of warrior decks. And frankly, the win rates on those aren't great. It's kind of being forced into lists just to play Sarfang, I think, which, hey, I get it. I'm all aboard. Sign me up. But we've actually got Warrior making a pretty big impact in the meta right now with Rush Warrior. It's a really strong archetype near the top of the meta, and it has no space for Sarfang. Really doesn't even have a ton of space for Frenzy cards. I'm actually thinking, are there any Frenzy cards? I think sometimes the Frenzy Pirate pops in there, but even Frenzy is not a mechanic that's showing up. I guess Samuro, to be fair, but I think only really Samuro. So, of course, if there's no Frenzy, then you're not going to see Sarfang because he's only supporting Frenzy cards specifically. And that's the real problem here for Sarfang, right? He had this really narrow window to fit into where you had to have a Frenzy core of cards that make sense in your deck, or Sarfang's not going to get there. And if the Frenzy cards don't make sense because the Rush stuff right now is just stronger, it's far more efficient at reacting than these Frenzy cards, which often feel a little bit passive, like they're kind of just sitting there waiting, or it's hard to activate the Frenzy on demand sometimes. All that means Sarfang at 7 mana is too slow, and the effects just aren't worth it. And of course, in that case, he's just not going to get played. And the real sad news is I'm not sure he ever will be, because we may not get more Frenzy cards in the future. There's certainly a chance we get some in the mini set. I'm sure we'll get a couple, but Frenzy's not the strongest keyword right now, outside of a very few specific instances where it's really good. Saburo. But will that be enough to bring Sarfang to life here? Will he actually make the cut at 7 mana? I'm wondering if he might be a little awkward. He kind of fits in underneath that Troublemaker spot in Rush Warrior. So you go like Sarfang, Troublemaker, Alexstrasza, but you got to have the Frenzy cards, or it just doesn't make sense. So I hope so. I love this card so much. I love Sarfang as a character. This looks so cool as a card. I really want this one to get played. Next up here is Firemancer Fleurgal. It's just like legendary after legendary in this list. Sucks. I want legendaries to get played. This is awful. Fleurgal was rated 4.6 stars, so really high. I gave him 4 myself. Seemed like a pretty sensible Murloc card here to support Murlocs. Kind of that, what's that dude's name? The Demon Hunter dude. What's Altruist, the Outcast style card. And turns out only in 15% of Shaman decks right now because, yeah, Murlocs aren't great. They're okay. But if you're playing Shaman, you're probably playing either like kind of a more of an aggro-y Shaman, or there's like this kind of elementally Shaman out there as well. Murlocs aren't even showing up currently on the meta report for HS Replay, which of course means Fleurgal's not going to fit. He's another pretty narrow designed card, where if his exact support package isn't making sense, then he's not going to make sense either, much like Sarfang. So that said, I do think Fleurgal has way more opportunity to succeed in the future than Sarfang does, because I still think he has a really powerful effect. And of course, there can always be more Murlocs. We're at a really small sample size for expansions right now. We just have the 4 and a core set. We're going to get 2 more expansions. And when we have that many cards, and of course through rotations, more Murlocs could get added in the future as well. Fleurgal has a lot of opportunities to succeed. So I do think one day he could become a 4-star plus card. But for now, if Murlocs aren't getting there, Fleurgal's not getting there. And unfortunately, Shaman got a couple of these pretty narrow archetype support packages with both Elementals and Murlocs, and it's kind of hard to make them both work simultaneously. So who knows where Shaman's going to go, but there is certainly a Murloc support card here in the future that I think has a chance. So moving on over here to the Razormane Battle Guard. This is one people thought was going to be pretty nuts. It's just like a free 2/3 a lot of the time. Just play this and another little taunt on turn 2, and it's going to be big, nice tempo kind of turn, I think is why people liked this. Also just cheesing out like a 5-mana taunt on turn 3 after playing this on 2 seemed pretty enticing, and as such, people gave him 4.3 stars. I was a little less sold. I didn't think a free 2/3 with upside was as compelling, just because I think it gets removed pretty easily by most decks these days, and I didn't know if the upside was enough long term. You kind of need maybe 2 or 3 turns, I think, to make this feel really, really good compared to other cards. So thought it was okay at 3. Turns out he's only in 6.1% of Druid decks right now. Druid is definitely going other directions than the taunt package. They've got, big stuff with ramps and clowns and guardian animals, or token side of things too, and he's certainly not a spell token sort of card. So he's fallen in that gap where he's just not getting any play at all. The taunt package isn't compelling enough for Razormane Battle Guard. And frankly, I would like to see the taunt package buffed. Blizzard's teased some buffs. They might change some cards in a positive direction. I think cards like this one could be a good thing to give Druid a different little package. And they committed quite a few things to this kind of taunt support stuff with Plague Maw and Razormane Battle Guard and whatever that new taunt Koto thing is. So, I don't want to lose all those cards just because 1 or 2 of the pieces aren't good enough. So let's give Razormane Battle Guard a bump and maybe actually get him up to this 4.3 star spot people were expecting. Moving on over here to the Pack Koto. Of course, a little card for Hunter that's a bit more kind of a value generator. Just play a little beast body and get something back. I thought this was pretty cool personally because you didn't get to choose what you wanted. Like, that's great in certain moments of the game. You need a threat, you grab a beast. You need a weapon for some damage. There you go. And the community liked this one pretty well. 4.1 stars. Was a little less sold at 3. I thought it was one of those cards that's like kind of just could toss into any deck, but it's never going to be core to a list. It's never going to be the driving force. It's just a freebie you throw in there. I still think that's probably true. I'm sure some slightly slower deck will find a home for this. But at the moment, of course, Hunter's playing much faster with Face Hunter decks. This is just not threatening enough compared to all the other things they can discover and buff with their Wranglers and their Rhinos. So this one just isn't good enough at pushing and pressuring that Face Hunter needs. And as such, is only being played in 7% of Hunter decks. When it's these like 7% numbers, like basically all the cards I've seen in this video so far, that basically means people just have it and they're tossing it in. It's not really a meta choice. It's more just people have this card and they like playing it. That said, I don't really think Pack Koto is ever going to be a great card. Like I said, I think it'll be a solid card, an option that you can just toss in. It's like one of those cards that seems great in Arena and those sorts of things. It's just maybe not specific enough in what it does for Constructed to really carve out that niche spot that decks need it to be. So keep an eye on it. I wouldn't be shocked if it finds a home, but it'll be rarely seen home and probably, more like a tier 3 home than like a big tier 1 awesome kind of card. So moving on over here to the Whirling Combatant for Warrior. This was another card people seem to think was going to be a good Frenzy support card, and I totally agreed. I thought this had a lot of output. Basically having 2 different Whirlwind effects seemed really good, both at proccing your own Frenzy cards, but also sometimes just reacting to your opponent's board. Just having Whirlwinds to clean up minions on the other side seemed really powerful to me. Seemed like it's going to enable great stuff like Sarfang and other Frenzy cards. Seemed like a 4-star fit. Everybody out there in the community agreed. Unfortunately, only being played in 5% of class decks. I think a couple things happened here. Right now, Whirlwinds aren't as good. We lost like all the lackey stuff. Things generally have 2 health right now or more. They don't usually have that many 1 health things floating around in the meta. Like, take a look at all the cards getting played. Like, everything's 2 health. Hunter has some 1/1s with like the little rush hyenas and stuff, so maybe there's still a world where this gains some ground against Hunter, but you kind of need that on turn 3. after they go off on their cold car. I don't know if turn 4 is soon enough. Like sometimes they wait till turn 3 of the cold car, but it's like 2 coin something. So you've got a gap to your turn 4. So it's just maybe it doesn't fill in that hole very well. So anyway, not as good of a fit in the meta as far as like clearing up your opponent's stuff on the Whirlwind side. Frenzy cards just haven't gotten there yet either. So using this as a Frenzy enabler hasn't made much sense yet. And again, unfortunately, much like Sarfang, I don't know if it ever will. I don't know if Frenzy's going to be a keyword that sticks and seems strong enough in the future. Maybe if we get some crazy support in the mini set, it's a possibility. If indeed Wailing Caverns shows up as people think it's going to be, and it's Whirlwind stuff, like, let's see. But I don't have a lot of hope. I think this is more that 3-star or less card personally at the moment. And then finally, my last card here, the Lush Water Scout. Murloc in the neutral set, our only neutral card in this video. And people were calling this kind of the magic carpet for Murlocs. There was the magic carpet zoo, of course, previously. That was a great way to give stuff rush and an attack bonus. That was awesome in zoo for a while. So people gave this 4.5 stars, thinking it was going to be that Murloc carpet. I gave it 3 stars. I wasn't quite as sold. I thought 2 things, like Magic Carpet had 1-drops that were enabling it, so it was really easy to get that and a bunch of 1-drops in a single turn and really pop off, particularly in Warlock, where you had card draw to kind of refill your hand after doing that nicely. Murlocs aren't usually 1 mana. They're often, spread across like 1 to 3 mana. So it's a little bit harder to get everything into a turn, even though this is 1 mana cheaper. You kind of have to wait a while. Also, I worried that Murlocs weren't quite as swingy. In other words, like you kind of need to get Murlocs out ahead of your opponent in many cases. Even though we saw a shift away from things like Murloc War Leader, you still don't want to be playing from behind too much in Murlocs. Although Fleurgal and this both do encourage that a little, I still worried it wouldn't be good enough. So I gave it 3 stars, kind of limiting its peak here. Turns out that's been true so far. Of course, Murloc Shaman's okay. It's tier 4, I guess, right now, if you look, or it's kind of not even technically on the list for Diamond through Legend, but I think if you're Bronze and Gold, it's like the high tier 3 or something. So it depends on player skill and everything. But it's only 0.4% of total decks as a neutral card, and I thought, well, that's not really fair. Maybe we should look at it at Shaman decks too. Much like Fleurgal, it's not that many Shaman decks either, just because Murloc Shaman doesn't stand out enough, and that's clearly the place to play Murlocs right now. So either way you slice it, unfortunately for the Lush Water Scout, it's not the big Magic Carpet enabler that's empowering Murloc decks like some people expected it to be. Now, that said, this is another card I do think has a chance to become that. Not only is it neutral, so it can fit across multiple classes, it's got some output. I think this could be a 4-star card one day. I don't think it will, but it could be. It has that chance. It has that potential to find that meta spot, which some of these cards, I'm afraid, don't have quite that potential for. So keep an eye out on this one. And there you go. That's it for our most overrated cards from Forged in the Barrens. The cards we thought would be awesome, but instead, so far, they suck. Now, I know a lot of people didn't listen to a word I said and are going to tell me how great these cards are going to be one day. Yeah, you're right. I totally agree. I'm going to link you to this part of the video and say, yeah, I didn't say they'd suck forever, bro. Well, I did for a couple, but not most of them. So feel free to argue that in the comments below. Always love hearing your thoughts and discussion. Of course, be sure to check out our sponsor for this video, GMG Performance. Get some nice blue light blocking glasses. Big shout out to them for supporting more videos. All that said, thanks to you guys for watching. And until next time, game on.